Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Um, I love starting off my talks and videos with this reminder that that's what we are, divine creations, divine marvels, that we are children of God, that we are created by God. And as Bruno Groening said, the divine spark lives within us to which no evil can gain access, meaning there's a part of us that is not only is it pure, like it's pure right now, it was pure every moment in the past, and it will be pure every moment in the future. It's such good news. Such good news. And here we are on this path of um, as Bruno Groening said, coming to self-recognition, self-knowledge, knowing that, living that, embodying that. So, on the one hand, Bruno Groening spoke on so many topics. I teach, I share this information. So I can think of myself like, oh, I'm a teacher or a presenter of the teachings of Bruno Groening. And yet I feel so humble in so many ways because Bruno Groening spoke on so many topics. He spoke on radioactivity. He spoke on how the electric wires in our walls aren't healthy for human beings. He spoke of nature as the supreme healer. He spoke on the issue of moving away from culture and towards nature. He spoke on the first topic I started on, our inherent purity, our inherent goodness. Um, uh, he spoke on so many topics, and these are just the topics I've happened to read about. There's so many things that Bruno Groening spoke about that A, I haven't read, and B, weren't even written down. So there's all these, and it's a wonderful, fascinating journey to learn all these things that Bruno Groening taught. And in essence, um, there's all these things he spoke of, and yet there's this core, these core themes that he just kept returning to over and over and over again. And one of them is this idea of relying on God, trusting in God, having faith in God, and the German word Verbindung, which means connection, link, union, communion. That to me is one of the central things he spoke about, is having this connection through God and maintaining it through faith and trust. Um, so we come to community hours, or we tune in on our own to practice that, to practice this sense of connection, link, union. And then what do we do when we get up from Einstellen, or when we leave community hour? Then what do we do? Well, Bruno Groening said, observe your body more and more, every day, every hour, every moment. So that's, I believe, ultimately what Bruno is calling us to, is moment by moment connection to God. And as he said, if you want to succeed, follow, not people. He said, if you want to succeed, follow God. So that ultimately, moment by moment, we're tuned into, connected to, being guided by, and following God. And I can very easily tell you that I have not mastered that yet. I'm very much still a learner on this path. And it's so wonderful to have a sense of what we're all on this path growing towards, is this moment by moment connection, faith in, and being led by God. So, so we tune in, or maybe we go to a community hour, or we read, something to Bruno's, or watch a video that helps us feel that connection. And then also, of course, practicing on our own, which is essential. Bruno said it's essential to keep our spiritual batteries charged. But what do we do then? What do I do when this video is done? Because right now, of course, I'm feeling very connected to the divine and very connected to the truth. And as I'm doing this, I'm also tuning in. But what do I do when I stand up, when the video's over? Then what do I do? This is where things get really interesting. So Bruno called us to continue tuning in all the time. He said, observe your body every moment. So it's quite a spiritual task that Bruno has called us to moment by moment by moment being connected to God and seeking that connection. And it is a practice, and it is a path, and for me, I find it's very important to strive for that every day, to strive for it every moment. And of course, I fall short, and to not judge myself, to not be like, oh, I'm never going to get there, but to keep trying. Now, at the end of each day, Bruno Gruning instructed people to do a daily review, to literally review to the best of their ability every moment of the day. He said, I'm going to paraphrase here, but in essence, literally let the day review itself, he said, before your inner eye. And notice the places where you fell short, the places where you made a mistake. And from that, that can turn every day into a school. For example, as I review my day, I might notice like, oh, when I spent an hour on Facebook, afterwards I felt yucky. And boy, I did not feel connected to God at all during that time. So, we review that and then we make the decision, okay, I'm going to spend less time on Facebook because I feel disconnected from God and I don't feel good afterwards. And so I'm just using that as a personal example. For someone else, it might be reading a particular book or hanging out with a particular person or even a certain food that afterwards, like, it tastes really good when I'm eating it, but then an hour later, oh, I don't feel so good. And so what I've discovered is in doing the daily review, I might have to notice 4 or 5, 6 times before I'm like, wow, okay, I really need to stop this. Like, this doesn't serve me. This really disconnects me from God. And so in that way, we can review the day every day at the end of the day. And then we can learn what are the habits, because this path is really about recovering from what Bruno Gruning called the force of habit. What are the habits that disconnect me from God? And then over time, we can refine our life and organize our life in such a way that it's easier and easier to be connected to God. And then we can even notice in advance, like, okay, I'm going to be meeting with this person. That's usually challenging for me. So then I spend a few minutes and tune in advance, or I mentally prepare myself. Okay, I'm going to be meeting with this person. It's challenging for me, so I'm going to talk very slowly during it so that I can stay connected. Or, wow, when I'm with this person, this tendency tends to happen. So I'm going to really make sure that doesn't happen. So it's in the daily review at nighttime that we're able to refine our day, refine our lives, and hence over time becomes easier and easier to stay connected to God all throughout the day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. They're going to have a live community hour on Wednesday, I believe at 11 a.m. I'll be posting a reminder about it soon. And I wish you a day of deep connection with the divine. Thanks so much.